What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a quick update on the van build with you guys, and so really think of this as like a phase one update on what I've done so far with the van. So what I mean by phase one is, so I'm a product manager by trade for software companies, so I help companies figure out what to build and in what order. And so in the world of product management, in case you're curious, we call it minimum viable product, which means like the very bare bones minimum thing that you need in order to have a product. Now obviously the van by itself is kind of an MVP or minimum viable product, but what I wanted to do was make it a little bit nicer. And so to me, phase one, what we've done so far is really the MVP for my build at least. Let me show you guys what I mean by phase one of the van build. So I left the bike in here for a reference for just a moment, but the most important thing is that you kind of strip it bare, and the first thing you do is you place all of these sound deadening mats kind of everywhere. So all beneath this surface, this insulation that you see here is sound deadening material, and it makes a huge difference. You can kind of tell here. Without the sound deadening Kilmat material, and over here, I've applied the Kilmat around the wheel well. Much better. All right, and then the other thing that we did was obviously we added insulation. So insulation is super important to kind of regulate the temperature inside the van, because it's basically an oven without the insulation. And when you buy the van stock, there's really nothing there. There's you can option the wall liners and all that kind of stuff, but what comes from Mercedes just isn't sufficient. So right here, what I've done is I put Thinsulate material. This Thinsulate insulation is super soft, and you kind of cut strips and you paste it into there with an adhesive. And even in the channels here, we put insulation all the way through all the channels, kind of every surface that that kind of has contact with the outside. But the other thing that I'm really excited about is the flooring. So let me show you guys that. So the flooring is super important for any van build, and I want to show you guys here because there's no trim yet, so maybe you can see all the layers. At the very bottom of the flooring is the van itself, and then we put the sound deadening, and then we put a layer of insulation, of Thinsulate insulation. But that Thinsulate insulation that we use is a different density. It's actually a thinner density than what you see on the wall. It compresses a bit more. And then I put these kind of wooden strips, these furring strips, to help provide more stability. Then we put the original flooring back on from the van, and then in the front, what I've done is I put this marine vinyl. It's super durable. It's used on kind of like boats and the surfaces for boat decks. And so you know that it's gonna be really long lasting in that regard. In the back, what we've done is we put this rubber surface here, and this is kind of chemical resistant and very moto garagey, so it's, you know, thematically really accurate. And it's held up. I've towed now the bikes a couple of times through here, and it's held up really well. It looks really good too. Definitely feels like a garage in the back. And of course, we have the Pitbull TRS, which works beautifully. So today was actually the first day I've used it, and it worked flawlessly, exactly what you'd expect from a TRS system. And I left the bike in here to show you guys kind of the proportions of what a 450 Supermoto or a full-size bike would look like in the back of the van. So this is the rear here. And we're going to move through the front here. Let me show you from the front perspective. And this is what it looks like in the van itself. And you'll notice that I deliberately chose two different materials for the flooring. So you have this really nice luxury marine vinyl in the front, and then the rubber matting in the back. And that's on purpose, because the idea is that we're actually going to do a divider wall separating the garage section from the cabin section, mostly because it's just really, the fumes are really strong in here with like the jugs, the generator. When I get the generator in here, the bikes themselves, I kind of left the bike and the fuel jugs overnight once to see what it would be like, and the fumes are like overwhelming if you leave it in there for a long time. One thing that you'll notice is that the dually wheel wells take up a lot of space in between. There's not that much space in between. I think it's like 36 inches or so. And so unfortunately, you can't actually put two full-size bikes side to side. You can do a 450 and like a mini bike that fits fine. I just did that. But unfortunately, you have to figure out some way to stagger it. And with the way that I'm doing this kind of separated cabin space, I'm actually gonna kind of limit myself to one full-size bike, the generator, equipment and stuff like that, and then you could do like a moto tote hitch or carrier hitch in the back to carry a second bike if I ever wanted to. So the final thing that I wanted to share with you is the swivel seat, and this is just really, really fun here. Basically, it's this very thin adapter plate that you see right here, and what that does is it allows you to pull this pin here, and then it lets you rotate the swivel seat all the way around. So let me just show on camera what that looks like. One second. So you have to move the seat forward, at least just to start it, and then what you can do is then you can turn it all the way around like this. So I think you can see it now, but yeah, so here we go. This is the swivel seat. The one thing to note is that the flooring drops on the backside, so I might have to get like a footrest or something. So even the guys that are like 6 feet tall find it a little bit tall, so I think you can put like a little footrest here. I did also get a swivel seat adapter for the driver's seat, so I'm gonna install that next. But really, that's kind of like phase one in a nutshell already done. So the sound deadening material, the insulation material, the flooring front and back, the TRS plate, and the swivel seat. And I think that kind of makes this van really, really functional already. And I can tell you the insulation does a great job because outside it's over 90 degrees and in here it's actually pretty bearable. So I like it a lot already, and that's without the walls, that's without the AC system, that's without all the other things that we're gonna have eventually in here. So that's the summary of like what I've done for the phase one of this van build. I'm already so happy with just like the van life. You know, having an awesome truck, awesome trailer, that's great as well, but honestly, just the simplicity of having a van has been like, just makes me really happy. Like it makes it so much easier. Like when we go home, I can literally just leave the bike in here. Don't tell anyone. But I can literally just leave the bike, unload like maybe my suit. That's pretty much it. Phase two of the build, I think is going to be really, really important because that's really where we're going to get a lot of like the luxury, and luxury meaning air conditioning here in Texas. So I basically will have an air conditioning unit up here in the front of the van, and then we're going to have a fan in the back here of the van. I'm actually gonna go through a pro build shop in Austin to have them do that because, you know, honestly, electrical work and that kind of stuff, I just am pretty intimidated by, and also there's just lack of time. Because in a week and a half, I'm actually headed to Dakota to ride, and then the van's gonna get dropped off to get the AC, the fan, the electrical system installed. I'll do a recap of that. And then right after that, we're heading straight to Crescent for 2 days at the track to get ready for the 5th round of CMRA, which will be at Crescent at the end of the month. And so there's not much time for me to just like screw things up, and so I'm gonna have the pro shop do the AC, the fan, and the electrical system. I also ordered windows for the van too, so I'll be installing that with Peter and the guys. Really gonna make like that cabin space like feel, I think, really residential and really restful, and just really brighten up the space. And so I think that's gonna be really great. But I'm excited to install that. We'll do a video for that as well. But that's like the phase two, which is coming up next, which I think is gonna be super awesome. Really excited. But yeah, that's it. That's the wrap up for today. I do have my Supermoto with me, which means I'm at the track, and so let's go turn some laps.